What happens when a simple woman, dressed in worn clothes, walks into a luxury car dealership, only to be kicked out and humiliated? Most people would just walk away, but not her. What she did next shocked everyone and changed everything. The soft chime of the dealership door went unnoticed by most of the staff. A woman, probably in her late 50s, stepped inside slowly. Her coat was worn, slightly faded at the sleeves, and her shoes, though polished, had seen better days. Her hair was tied back in a neat bun, and her face wore the kind of expression that didn't seek attention, calm, observant, and kind. The glass walls reflected the gleam of luxury cars lined up like royalty, machines that radiated wealth, class, and exclusivity. The woman's eyes gleamed slightly as she walked past a deep blue sports car. She paused, tilted her head, and admired the sleek lines like someone who truly appreciated the craft, not just the price tag. But her quiet admiration didn't go unnoticed. From behind the reception desk, a young man in a tightly fitted suit nudged his colleague. "You seeing this?" he whispered with a smirk. "Yeah," the other chuckled. "Wrong store, lady." A few customers turned their heads, some raised brows, others returned to sipping their complimentary coffee. The woman reached out and gently touched the side mirror of a silver coupe, as if she was feeling a memory, not just cold metal. Before she could step closer, a voice echoed through the polished floors. "Ma'am," came a tone laced with fake politeness. "Can I help you?" She turned. A tall man with gelled hair and an expensive watch was walking toward her. His name tag read, Marcus. He didn't smile. He studied her clothes instead. "Yes," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I was wondering—" "We don't allow walk-ins just to browse," he interrupted, not even letting her finish. "Appointments only." She blinked, confused. "Oh, I'm not just browsing. I wanted to—" "Ma'am," Marcus said louder, his hands slightly raised like he was fending off a child with a wild idea. "We sell high-end vehicles here. Most start at 6 figures. Are you sure you're in the right place?" A few people glanced over. A couple exchanged smirks. One young man in the corner shook his head with a half laugh, sipping his drink like it was free entertainment. The woman didn't flinch. "I saw a model online, the electric one. We don't have test drives for window shoppers." Marcus cut in again, now openly annoyed. "Let's not waste each other's time." She folded her hands in front of her. She didn't raise her voice, didn't argue. There was a small pause, not of defeat, but disappointment. "I see," she whispered, looking down briefly. Marcus turned away as if the matter were settled, muttering under his breath. The woman stood there for a second longer, then she quietly turned and began walking back toward the exit. No one stopped her. No one offered help. As she passed the row of chairs near the reception, a younger salesman leaned toward his coworker and said just loud enough, "This isn't a thrift store." A few chuckles followed, but not all eyes held judgment. Near the corner, holding a mop, stood an older man, the janitor. His uniform had the dealership's logo stitched to the chest, and his hands were rough from years of work. He caught her gaze and gave a small, respectful nod. She noticed it, and returned it with a faint smile, not of gratitude, but of acknowledgement, as if his silent kindness meant more to her than any sale. She pushed open the glass door gently, stepped into the cold air, and disappeared down the sidewalk. Inside, the laughter died down as Marcus strutted back to his desk. Another day, another situation was handled. What no one knew, not even the janitor, was that this woman wasn't done yet. She had seen enough, and the decision was already made. The cold wind outside brushed against her face as she walked away, but she didn't pull her coat tighter. Her steps were slow, steady, like someone deep in thought. Behind her, the dealership door closed with a quiet thud, but the words thrown at her still echoed in her ears. "This isn't for window shoppers." She paused briefly at the crosswalk, letting the cars pass. People rushed by, busy with their day, unaware of the sting she carried with her. But still, she didn't cry. Her eyes remained calm, even as the corner of her lips tightened just slightly, the kind of hurt only dignity can hold back. Inside the dealership, Marcus stood near the coffee machine, casually bragging about the encounter. She had the nerve to touch the car. Can you believe that? He scoffed. Probably just wanted to post a selfie pretending to buy one. Another salesman, amused, chuckled. Maybe she thought we were handing out free test drives today. A few customers overheard. Some smiled, uncomfortable but unwilling to speak up. One woman, dressed in a designer coat, glanced toward the door, then back at Marcus. She looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't. In a corner, the janitor mopped silently. He wasn't smiling. His eyes kept darting toward the entrance, then to Marcus. He didn't say a word, but the lines on his face grew tighter, like he'd seen this before, too many times. Out on the sidewalk, the woman finally reached a bench near the bus stop and sat down. Her hands rested in her lap, one holding a small piece of folded paper. She opened it. It was a printed photo of the car she had come to see, the one she'd circled in a newspaper ad weeks ago. She stared at it for a long time. Across the street, a teenage boy in a hoodie noticed her sitting alone and yelled from a distance, "Hey Grandma, are you buying a rocket ship next?" A group of boys nearby burst out laughing. The woman slowly folded the paper again, carefully, like it mattered. Like it wasn't just about a car, it was about something bigger. Back inside, Marcus moved from customer to customer, telling them about horsepower, leather interiors, and exclusive packages. His voice was just loud enough to draw attention. He liked being noticed. The janitor quietly walked past him, heading outside for a break. As he opened the door, he saw her sitting across the street. He hesitated for a second, then stepped outside. He walked over to her slowly, careful not to intrude. When he got close, she looked up. "I just wanted to say," he said gently, "not everyone in there is like that. Some of us still see people." Her lips curved slightly into a real smile, not big, not dramatic, but real. "I know," she replied softly. "I saw you." He looked down, unsure of what else to say. Then he nodded and turned to go back. She watched him walk away, his back slightly hunched, mop handle still in hand, like a quiet symbol of who really had class that day. She looked at the dealership one more time, not with pain, not with anger, but with quiet resolve burning in her eyes. She stood up, pulled out her phone, made a call. Her voice was calm, composed. "Yes, I've made up my mind. I'll go ahead with the purchase, but not from them. I'd like to do it my way." There was a pause. "Also," she added, "I need a little help arranging something for the weekend. You'll understand why soon." And with that, she walked down the sidewalk, her head held high. She wasn't just buying a car, she was rewriting the memory of that day. 3 days passed. It was a quiet Saturday morning, and the dealership was back to its usual rhythm. The sun hit the windows just right, making the luxury cars inside gleam like untouched trophies. The same staff stood around, suits sharp, shoes polished, smiles fake, but practiced. Marcus was leaning on a desk, scrolling through his phone when a sudden buzz filled the air. Outside, a sleek black SUV rolled to a stop in front of the dealership. Not the kind that blended in. This was a top-tier custom-built vehicle. Jet black rims, tinted windows, the kind of car that made everyone pause. The engine cut off. For a moment, no one moved. Then the back door opened slowly. A foot stepped out in a sharp black heel, followed by the rest of her. It was the same woman, but everything was different. Her coat was tailored, expensive, hugging her frame like it was made just for her. Her hair was styled neatly, and she wore a pair of subtle diamond earrings that caught the light. She wasn't carrying a photo now, just a small leather handbag and a quiet, unreadable expression. Inside, Marcus hadn't noticed yet, but the receptionist did. She tapped his arm. "Hey, isn't that—" He looked up, eyes narrowing. "No way," he muttered. She strode through the automatic doors without hesitation, the same doors she was pushed out of just days before. This time, she didn't glance at the cars or admire the showroom. Her eyes were fixed ahead. A few heads turned. Whispers started. "Isn't that the woman Marcus kicked out? She looks different. Wait, who is she?" Marcus quickly adjusted his tie and started walking toward her, putting on the same fake smile he wore for high-paying clients. "Welcome in, ma'am. How can I help you today?" She didn't stop. She walked right past him. "I'd like to speak with the owner," she said flatly. Marcus blinked. "I'm sure I can assist." She turned to him, eyes calm but firm. "I didn't ask for you." Her voice was steady, not angry, just final. Someone behind the glass wall moved. A man in his 60s stepped out from an office upstairs. He was the dealership owner. Tall, dressed in a navy suit, with an air of authority that even Marcus respected. He walked down slowly, curious about the commotion. His eyes met hers as he reached the bottom step. "Can I help you?" he asked, cautious but polite. The woman extended her hand. "Yes, I believe you're the owner." He shook her hand, still unsure. "I'd like to discuss a business matter," she said, then paused and glanced around the room. "And a serious customer experience issue." Marcus's face tightened. The owner nodded. "Of course. Let's talk in my office." As they started walking away, silence spread across the showroom. Everyone watched. The receptionist's mouth was slightly open. A junior salesman whispered, "What's happening?" Marcus stood frozen, a nervous sweat beading at his collar. The janitor, polishing a window nearby, glanced at the woman. She looked back at him, not with surprise, not with arrogance, but with recognition. She gave him the same small, respectful nod she had days ago. He gave it back, this time with a smile that crept quietly across his weathered face. The glass door to the owner's office shut gently behind her, and for the first time, no one dared to laugh. Something had shifted, and nobody, especially Marcus, knew what was coming next. The office door clicked shut behind them. Inside, the atmosphere was calm, but thick with unspoken tension. The owner gestured toward a leather chair, but she remained standing. "I'll keep it short," she began. "3 days ago, I came in here, quietly. I asked no favors. I simply admired a car that I intended to purchase." The owner listened closely, hands folded in front of him. "I was mocked, laughed at, humiliated right in front of other customers. Your employee, Marcus, treated me like I was dirt under his shoe because of how I looked." The owner exhaled slowly, sensing the gravity of the moment. "I'm deeply sorry for—" "I'm not here for an apology," she interrupted, voice steady. "I came to see how your business treats people when no one's watching. I wanted to know if the values match the shine." She finally took a seat. "You see, I'm a silent partner in a private investment group that backs several high-end ventures, including automotive tech, green fuels, and recently, luxury dealerships." The owner blinked. His posture changed slightly, more alert, more cautious. "You might have heard of Vera Holdings?" she asked. He nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. "Yes, we've had some proposals from them." "I co-founded that group," she said plainly. The silence was absolute. Outside the glass office, no one could hear their words, but every eye was locked on them. Marcus stood stiff as a statue, staring through the window, color drained from his face. "I came here hoping to buy 3 cars, one for personal use, one as a gift for a retirement event, and one to be auctioned at a fundraiser." She opened her purse and pulled out a folder, placing it gently on the desk. "I was ready to pay up front. That folder contains specs, approvals, and purchase orders." The owner's hands twitched. "I don't care about being treated special," she continued, voice calm but razor sharp. "But when your staff treats people like me as invisible, or worse, disposable, that's a business problem, not a personal one." She leaned forward slightly. "I had my assistant call your competitors. One of them welcomed me with coffee and silence. No questions, no judgment. The order is being finalized as we speak." The owner opened the folder, scanning the pages inside. Custom builds, signatures, wire transfers already in process. "You lost this deal," she said, "but I didn't come back just for that." Her eyes flicked toward the window. "I came back to make sure you understood why." The owner rubbed his temples, his voice dropping. I had no idea. Marcus is a reflection of what you allow," she cut in. "And before you defend him, understand something. I didn't walk in here expecting to be celebrated. I just expected to be respected." Her words hung in the air. Outside, Marcus took a half step back from the window. His fingers twitched at his sides, nervous. "Ma'am," the owner said, I want to make this right. I'll handle Marcus personally, and if there's any way we can win back your trust." "You can't," she replied gently. "But maybe you can do better going forward." She stood. As she turned to leave, she paused by the door and looked back one last time. "You know, money can buy fast cars and big buildings, but it can't fix small minds. Only you can do that." The door opened, and as she stepped out, the room beyond fell silent. All eyes were on her. Marcus looked at her like a man watching his own fall. She walked straight toward the janitor, who had stepped to the side to give her space, but she stopped in front of him. "I didn't forget," she said, smiling softly. From her purse, she pulled out a small white envelope and handed it to him. "This is for your kindness, not just that day, but every day, for people who never even notice." He hesitated, then opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside, a check, not a tip, a life changer, $50,000. His mouth fell open. I can't accept this." "You already did," she said gently, "with how you treated me. That day, you were the only one here who saw a person, not a paycheck." She turned away before he could reply, and the door closed behind her. But it wasn't over. The black SUV purred as she stepped back inside. No photographers, no press, no dramatic music. Just the quiet satisfaction of truth revealed and dignity reclaimed. Inside the dealership, silence lingered like smoke after a fire. The janitor stood frozen, the check still in his hand, heart pounding. His lips trembled. He'd cleaned those showroom floors for over 20 years. He'd seen millionaires walk in and out, but no one had ever seen him, until today. One of the junior salesmen whispered, "Did she just—" Another answered, "50,000. I saw it." Marcus slowly walked backward, face pale. His mouth opened, then closed. Words failed him. The owner stepped out of his office, face tight with emotion. He looked directly at Marcus. "My office. Now." Marcus didn't argue. He didn't speak. He just followed, shoulders sagging, reputation in freefall. The janitor stood there, envelope in hand, people finally looking at him not as a shadow, but as someone who mattered. Outside, the woman's SUV turned onto the road. A moment later, it stopped at a red light. From the sidewalk, a teenage girl in an oversized hoodie knocked gently on the passenger window. Her face was pale from the cold. The woman rolled down the window halfway. "Hi, sorry to bother you. I saw what happened there. That was amazing," the girl said, eyes wide. I work at the cafe across the street. They treat people badly there too." The woman smiled softly, reached into her bag, and pulled out a card. "If you ever want something better, something that sees you, call this number," she said. The light turned green. The girl took the card slowly, staring at it like it was gold. The SUV drove away. Back at the dealership, the atmosphere had shifted. Customers stood in silence. Employees whispered nervously. But the janitor, he just stood quietly, eyes wet, the check folded gently into his chest pocket. Later that evening, the story leaked, not through tabloids or press, but through a quiet video captured by a customer on their phone. It showed the woman walking out, handing the janitor the envelope, and disappearing like a shadow into the luxury car. It went viral. Millions watched. Some praised her grace. Others questioned who she was. But most of all, people talked about how one woman, dressed simply, had walked into a room full of judgment, and walked out, having taught them all something they wouldn't forget. Not with a shout, not with revenge, but with quiet power. That week, the dealership released a public statement. They promised changes, training, better hiring, better values. But no PR stunt could erase what had already happened. And in homes across the country, people who had once been dismissed, ignored, or underestimated, they watched her story and felt a shift. A sense that maybe, just maybe, things could change. Because of one woman, who refused to be invisible. This story isn't just about cars or money. It's about respect, kindness, and never judging someone by their appearance. Sometimes, the most powerful people are the ones you least expect. If this story touched you, hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that inspire and challenge how we see the world.